From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. on Tuesday arrived in the United Arab Emirates or UAE for a one-day working visit to strengthen relations with the country. Presidential Communications Office or PCO Secretary Cesar Chavez said the plane carrying the president and his trimmed-down delegation arrived in the UAE at 2:06 Tuesday morning. While in the Gulf state, President Marcos will meet with his counterpart, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan in Abu Dhabi. Agreements between the two countries are expected to be signed during the chief executive's visit. The PCO earlier announced that the president would embark on a one-day working visit to the Gulf state with a high purpose of bolstering Philippines-UAE ties. President Marcos Jr.'s accompanying delegation has been trimmed to the barest minimum as he looks to immediately return to Manila to resume his personal supervision and inspection of the relief and reconstruction activities in communities devastated by 6 successive typhoons.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. on Monday broke his silence and fired back at Vice President Sara Duterte's death threat, noting that the issue just blew out of proportion due to the latter's refusal to answer legitimate questions about her office's alleged misuse of funds. In a video message, the president noted that the issue would not have led to this kind of drama if only Duterte answered these questions from lawmakers. President Marcos also said the curses and blatant threats to life made by Duterte are alarming. The chief executive said these remarks have no space in a democratic country like the Philippines and that he would not take these sitting down. This marks the first time the president responded to criticisms made public by Duterte. The Philippine president was responding to the vice president's controversial online statement over the weekend where she threatened to have him, First Lady Liza Marcos, and House Speaker Martin Romualdez assassinated if a purported plot against her were to succeed. Duterte issued the supposed threat while she was at the House of Representatives accompanying her chief of staff, lawyer Zuleika Lopez, who was detained for failing to respond to questions regarding the misuse of funds at the vice president's office during a legislative inquiry. According to the president, all government officials are mandated to protect the Constitution and subject themselves to transparency and accountability. President Marcos Jr. said he hopes that these events will end in a peaceful way and with the truth. Let's listen to the message of Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
Kakabahala ang mga pahayag na narinig natin itong mga nakarang araw. Nandyan ang walang pakundangang pagmumura at ang pagbabanta ng planong ipapatay ang ilan sa atin. Kung ganun na lang kadali ang pagplano sa pagpatay ng isang presidente, paano pa kaya ang mga pangkaraniwan na mamamayan? Yang ganyang kriminal na pagtatangka ay hindi dapat pinapalampas. Yan ay aking papalagan. As a democratic country, we need to uphold the rule of law. Ako, bilang pinuno ng Executive Department at lahat ng mga nanunungkulan sa pamahalaan ay may sinumpaang tungkulin na tutup din at pangangalagaan ang konstitusyon at ang ating mga batas. Kaya hindi tama ang pagpigil sa mga halal ng bayan sa paghahanap ng katotohanan. Hindi na sanang hahantong sa ganitong drama kung sasagutin lamang ang mga lehitimong katanungan sa Senado at sa House of Representatives. Ang katotohanan ay hindi dapat itokhang. Tapos na sana ang usapang ito kung tutuparin lamang ang sinumpaang panata na bilang lingkod bayan ay magsabi ng totoo at hindi hahadlangan. Imbis na diretsahang sagot, nililihis pa sa kwentong chicheria. Hangad ko na matuldukan na itong mga pangyayaring ito sa parang matiwasay at magdadala sa atin sa katotohanan. 12 taon din ako nanungkulan sa magkaparehong kamara ng Kongreso. Batid ko ang kapangyarihan iginawad sa kanila ng taong bayan at ng ating konstitusyon. Dahil dito, iginagalang ko ang kanilang gawain bilang isang independenteng sangay ng ating republika. Kahit ang buong executive branch, lahat ng mga ahensya ay hindi nakakaligtas at parating sumasailalim sa kanilang masusing pagsusuri. Bilang isang bansa, marami tayong mga paghamon na dapat harapin at mga suliraning dapat bigyan ng lunas. Sa kabila ng mga pambabatikos, nakatuon ang aking pansin sa pamamahala. Ngunit, hindi natin ikokompromiso ang rule of law. Kailangan manaig ang batas sa anumang sitwasyon, sino man ang tamaan. Kaya hindi ko hahayaan magtagumpay ang hangarin ng iba na hatakin ang buong bansa sa burak ng politika. Igalang natin ang proseso. Tuparin natin ang batas. Alalahanin natin ang mandato na pinagkatiwala sa atin ng milyon-milyon na Pilipino. Magtrabaho po tayo sa ikauunlad ng Republika ng Pilipinas at para matamo ang bagong Pilipinas.
You just heard Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, the Philippines National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, will summon Vice President Sara Duterte as the government mounts an investigation over her kill order against President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. In a palace press briefing Monday, NBI Director Jaime Santiago said the agency has already started investigating the Vice President's online thread. Santiago said the NBI has asked social media giant Facebook to preserve the video for the ongoing investigation, adding that the video was authentic and not artificial intelligence or IA generated. Now that the NBI has concluded its preliminary investigation, Santiago said they are now considering what action they will take against the Vice President as well as the contracted gunman.
Alam niyo po, mandato ng sa NBI ng ating batas, Republica 10867, may primary jurisdiction po ang NBI to investigate threats on the President down to the Chief Justice. So, hindi po namin to tinetake lightly when we receive the video clips nung sinabi nga ni Vice President Sara, nagkundak agad kami ng investigation. First, I directed my cybercrime unit to investigate the authenticity of that video clip. So, we found out, my investigators found out that the clip is not AI generated, it is not deepfake, it is authentic. So, the next step we do is to write yung platform, happen to be na yung FB, Facebook. So, we requested na preservation nung clip. So, the Facebook ay kinikip na ang video clip for future reference. Granted na po yung request namin na naka-save na po yun. Now, ang next step namin ngayon is dinedetermine namin whatever action, say criminal or whatever action that we will take against the Vice President, especially the person na sinasabi niya na inutusan na niya para ipapatay si President Marcos, the First Lady, and the Speaker.
National Bureau of Investigation Director Jaime Santiago. Meantime, in the same briefing, Department of Justice or DOJ Undersecretary Jesse Andres said the investigation will be immediate and will be dealt with the full force of the law, considering that the threat involves the life of the highest official of the land. Andres said it is important to know what steps were taken to hire the services of a murderer who is planning to harm the president. He added that the NBI will take all steps to trace the assassin's identity, including the issuance of a subpoena to Vice President Sara to appear before the NBI to clarify her statements.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has created a special economic zone in Antipolo. In Proclamation Number 752, issued November 22nd, the President designated Centro Mall Antipolo with a gross floor area of 27,622.18 square meters, and the parcels of land where the building stands with an area of 10,898 square meters as special economic zone. The new economic zone, which will be an information technology center, is located along Sumulong Highway in the village of Mambugan, Antipolo City. The creation of the Antipolo City Economic Zone is under Republic Act or RA 7916 or the Special Economic Zone Act of 1995 and upon the recommendation of the Board of Directors of the Philippine Economic Zone Authority or PEZA. RA 7916, signed into law on February 24, 1995, aims to encourage economic growth through the development of special economic zones called ecozones. Special economic zones are defined in the law as selected areas with highly developed or which have the potential to be developed into agro-industrial, industrial tourist or recreational, commercial banking, investment, and financial centers. An ecozone may contain industrial estates, export processing zones, free trade zones, and tourist or recreational centers. Companies operating within designated economic zones get certain tax and other financial incentives to bring down the cost of manufacturing.
Dateline Malacañang.
Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP Chief of Staff General Romeo Bronner Jr. strictly instructed all soldiers to remain faithful to the chain of command. This is the message of the AFP chief amid the worsening political conflict wherein the men in uniform were also dragged into the issue. According to Bronner, soldiers should not be affected by political conflict but focus on performing their duties. Bronner said soldiers should remain true to the Constitution as well as the office of the President of the Republic of the Philippines, which serves as their Commander-in-Chief. The AFP made the statement following Vice President Sara Duterte's death threats against President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, and House Speaker Martin Romualdez.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police or PNP assured its readiness to provide additional security around Malacañang Palace. This after the Presidential Security Command, or PSC, increased its security alert in the vicinity of the palace following the threat of Vice President Sara Duterte against President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos. According to PNP Public Information Office Chief, Police Brigadier General Jean Fajardo, they are just waiting for the PSC's instruction if there is a need for additional forces. Currently, Fajardo said, alert levels across the country remains normal, but they leave it up to the regional commanders to raise the alerts depending on the situation in their respective jurisdictions. Fajardo added that PNP Chief Police General Romel Francisco Marbil has yet to release any order to raise their alert levels. The National Security Council, or NSC, earlier said, the threats of the Vice President to the first couple can be considered as a national security concern.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, Department of National Defense or DND Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. on Monday told senators that one of the provisions of the Reciprocal Access Agreement or RAA between the Philippines and Japan allows Japanese troops to participate in joint military exercises within Philippine territory. During the public hearing of the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations on the ratification of the RAA, Teodoro said once the RAA is approved by Congress, it shall make way for Japan to be involved in Balikatan and Alon exercises of the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP with the United States and Australian troops respectively. He, however, clarified that the recent military exercises of the Philippines with Japan are classified as maritime cooperative activities and not joint military exercises. Further, he reported that details of military exercises with Japan are still to be determined considering the scheduling and the absorptive capacity given the availability of troops. Teodoro also assured that Japanese troops will be on standby to help the Philippines in humanitarian assistance and disaster relief or HADR during calamities. The panel, chaired by Senator Amy Marcos, expects the Philippines and Japan to undertake more in-depth practical military cooperation and exercises under the RAA. She said the RAA would deepen defense cooperation between the Philippines and Japan and therefore enhance the interoperability between the AFP and the Japan Self-Defense Forces. Defense cooperation and military exercises, according to Senator Marcos, aim to respond to the current security landscape such as, but not limited to, the enhancement of technical and cybersecurity needs, development of maritime domain awareness capabilities, expanding training and education exchanges, and the strengthening of HADR. The RAA between the Philippines and Japan, signed in July this year, establishes a legal framework for joint military training, operations, and humanitarian missions to strengthen defense cooperation amid regional security challenges. This marks Japan's second RAA after the one with Australia, expanding its military diplomacy. The Philippines has existing agreements like the Visiting Forces Agreement or VFA with the United States and the Status of Forces Agreement with Australia, aiming to enhance defense partnerships and facilitate cooperative military activities.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service is heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 9.475 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.820 MHz. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You will be able to hear and view our Filipino and English programs, including news updates here in the Philippines. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.